Tonya was always asking questions. Many of her inquiries were obvious, but a few left her grandfather, the oldest in the village, bewildered. Everyone expected him to possess boundless knowledge. Tonya was indeed a peculiar young girl. She had no interest in playing with dolls, and often she chose to steer clear of her peers. Instead, she exhibited a remarkable fascination for the conversations of the older men and women in her village. One day, she turned to her mother and inquired, "Who do I resemble?" "I believe you take after your late grandmother," her mother Hawa replied. "But why do I resemble her and not you?" Tonya's curiosity piqued. "Well, when I was pregnant with you, she jumped over my legs," Ma Hawa explained. "That's rather strange," Tonya remarked. "That's the way things go. You see, you shouldn't jump over the legs of a pregnant woman if you don't want her child to look like you." Tonya asked another question. "Where does rain come from?" "Rain, my dear, come from God," Ma Hawa answered. "And where is God?" Tonya probed further. "God lives in heaven." "How long has God been in heaven?" "God has been in heaven all eternity," Ma Hawa replied. "Really?" Tonya questioned. "Yes, God has always been there and will always be," Ma Hawa affirmed. "Mama, you told me everything has a beginning and an end," Tonya reminded her. "That's true, my child, but God is an exception to that rule." "So God has no mother, father, brothers, or sisters?" Tonya continued her inquiry. "That's correct," Ma Hawa sighed. Tonya didn't stop after her mother had patiently addressed a series of questions. She retreated for a moment but later returned with more inquiries. "Mama, where do children come from?" she wondered aloud. "Children come from God," Ma Hawa repeated. "Did I also come from God?" "You most certainly did, just like every child in this world." "Did I fall from heaven?" Tonya sought clarification. "No, my dear, you did not fall from heaven," Ma Hawa reassured her. "Did you go to heaven to get me?" Tonya persisted. "No, Tonya, I did not go to heaven to get you," Ma Hawa replied, somewhat exasperated. She wasn't quite sure how to respond to Tonya's relentless curiosity. She assumed Tonya was too young to fully grasp the intricacies of how children enter the world. "I think it's best if you go ask your father. He might be better equipped to provide you with answers." Tonya's father, a village carpenter known for his no-nonsense demeanor, was a very busy man. When he wasn't crafting furniture, he could be found painting or playing the kora, a local 21-stringed instrument, each producing a distinct note. Ma Hawa had already briefed Varni about their daughter's numerous questions. Varni was puzzled and troubled by how these grown-up questions had found their way into his 6-year-old daughter's thoughts. He patiently waited for days, but Tonya didn't return with more questions. Eventually, he decided to confront her. "I've heard that you have some questions you'd like me to answer," he said, adopting an unexpectedly polite tone. Tonya nodded. "I wanted Mama to tell me the answers, but since she refused, I went searching for them myself." "Did you find the answers?" Varni inquired. Tonya nodded. "Yes, I did." "Can you tell me how babies are made?" Varni prodded gently. "You and Mama go into the room, get under the blanket, and do some strange things that eventually result in a baby," Tonya replied. "What kind of strange things?" Varni quizzed his daughter. Tonya shrugged. "I'm not sure." "That's close to the truth. A full explanation will come to you when the time is right," Varni assured her. "How long do I have to wait for the right answer?" Tonya wanted to know. "For you, it's about the next 6 years. When you're around 12, you'll be ready for the more complex discussion," Varni explained. "Papa, do I have to wait for 6 years to get answers to the questions in my head right now?" Tonya probed further. "I believe so," Varni replied, shaking his head. "Are you not sure?" Tonya persisted. "I'm not entirely sure, but we can go ask Nurse Anna at the clinic in the neighboring village. Perhaps she can explain the importance of waiting for the right answer at the right time." Although Varni was typically a stern father, he made the 6-mile journey to the neighboring village to consult with Nurse Anna. He knew that Tonya must have answers to her questions to put her mind at ease. It was a Sunday when they arrived, and the clinic was closed. Nurse Anna was busy in her kitchen. "Nurse Anna, we've come to see you." Varney announced. I'm sorry, today is Sunday and the clinic is closed. It's the only day I have for rest. Besides, all my working tools and drugs are behind lock and key in the clinic, Nurse Anna explained. No, Nurse Anna, we're not here because we're sick. I have some questions I'd like to ask you. My daughter is 6 years old, and she's been asking some adult questions. I'm not sure how to handle them, Varney admitted. I think it might be the right time to give her the truth, Nurse Anna suggested. Do you mean I should tell her the whole truth? Varney inquired. If she's asking real questions about real things, then yes, give her the answers to the questions she has, Nurse Anna replied. I'm concerned that telling her the truth might make her more curious and encourage her to try things sooner than she should, Varney confessed. I've heard that concern before. But the truth is that children aren't only interested in adults explaining sex to them. They want to understand how they came into existence, why they resemble certain family members, and why they are who they are. Even at the age of 6, children are fascinated by concepts like cause and effect. It helps them make sense of the world, Nurse Anna explained. Nurse Anna then turned to Tonya and said, Hey, Smarty, come over here. I'll answer all your questions today, and afterward, we can have lunch together. Do you like potato greens with rice? It's my favorite, Tonya said. Varney began to rise, thinking he should leave the room. Where are you going? Nurse Anna asked. I thought I should leave you two alone. I can't sit here and listen to my daughter talking about things like sex, penises, and vaginas, Varney admitted. Oops, you've already mentioned those words and she's heard them. Varney, these are just names for body parts. These parts are no different from ears, noses, legs, and fingers. There's no need to mystify them. Besides, it might help if you sit and listen to our conversation, Nurse Anna encouraged Tonya's father. Nurse Anna, you know it's not just about the names of body parts. It's more about where those parts are located and what they do, Varney explained. I understand your concern, but you're her father. If you don't explain them to her now, someone will do, but that person may not provide age-appropriate answers. Moreover, demystifying these subjects with her will help build trust between you, Nurse Anna advised. Reluctantly, Varney agreed to stay and listen to the conversation. They asked Tonya what she already knew about the subject matter. Nurse Anna and Varney were astonished at how much Tonya had learned, but equally alarmed that most of the information she possessed was inaccurate and potentially harmful. Varney committed to pay closer attention to his daughter's needs and questions. As they journeyed back home, Tonya posed another question. Papa, why are we poor? Once again, Varney initially considered dismissing the question, but remembered he promised to be more attentive to Tonya's inquiries. I don't have the answer to that question right now. Tomorrow I'll take you to see Oldman Karoma, the village historian. He may be in the position to provide an answer. Understanding the source of our poverty, perhaps would help me get out of it. True to his word, Varney took his daughter to visit Oldman Karoma, who was engrossed in reading his favorite book, 1,000 Secrets of the Distant Past. He claimed that the book provided him with many of the answers he sought in life. Varney and Tonya entered his study and patiently waited while he continued reading. What can I do for you, young man? Oldman Karoma finally asked. My daughter asked me a question I've never really considered before. You're the most learned person in our village, so perhaps you can offer some insight, Varney explained. What's the question? The historian inquired. She wants to know why we're poor. And you don't know the answer to that question? Oldman Karoma asked. No, I truly don't. We work tirelessly, yet poverty persists, Varney admitted. You too are fortunate. This is the topic I've been immersed in for the past week. I found it quite intriguing that a child would be curious about why our community is impoverished. Equally fascinating are the reasons I've uncovered. The answer is rather simple. Out people simply fail to do the right things at the right time and in the correct sequence. I'm not sure your daughter will understand the reasons I've uncovered, but perhaps you can gradually explain them to her. There's a time for everything under the sun. Nothing illustrates this fact better than the Bible. The Book of Lamentations teaches us that there's a time to sow and a time to uproot, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to tear down and a time to build, and so on. It contains many more such teachings than I have time to share now. In this book, 1,000 Secrets of the Distant Past, Old Man Koroma raised the book in his hand. The reasons for poverty among our people is clear. The 11th chapter, The Journey to Nowhere in particular, lays the groundwork for a prosperous life. It states that when a person is born, he must acquire appropriate knowledge and skills. He must find a trade that utilizes their knowledge and skills to earn a living. He must find the woman of his dreams and marry her. He must bear children and live happily ever after. He who follows this path never falls into poverty. Your child has asked a question that many adults ask in hindsight at the end of their lives. The old man paused. We've gotten things mixed up in this village. Many young people fail to train for a profitable trade during their youth. They grow like trees without a plan for their lives. As they grow, they take on responsibilities, such as raising children out of wedlock. Soon the pressure of life forces them to search for work they have not trained for. After a long and sometimes fruitless search, they take whatever job they can find. Hastily, they enroll in school or marry someone. Do you see how this deviates from the wisdom outlined in this book? Distortion of this sound principle is the root of the poverty in our community today. If you visit the university, you'll find individuals holding positions they're unqualified for because they sought employment before acquiring the necessary education for the job they have. You'll find similar situations in the marketplaces, banks, and in the government. I tell you, any nation that follows this path is destined for poverty. Little girl, my prayer for you is to keep asking questions. Some people may not like your questions, but that's the way to go. It's a gift you have. Use it. As Varney and Tonya left Old Man Koroma's presence, Tonya turned to him. Papa, I have one more question. Again? Varney asked, amused. This is my final question for the day, she assured him. Go ahead, I'm all ears, Varney said. Papa, how does one travel to the moon? Varney shook his head and laughed. This is a big question for the little girl you are. I'll need at least a week to think it over. I'll grow up someday, Papa. Please tell me how I can travel to the moon. Varney looked at his daughter and sighed. I hope one day all these questions will stop. They will, Papa, when I return from the moon. Wow, that is a big one for a little girl born with questions. Varney put his hand around his daughter as they continued home. I may not have the answers you seek, but keep asking questions. The answers will come someday, even if not from me. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this video, subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Give us a thumbs up and share with your friends, family, and loved ones. Don't forget to leave a comment below.